Okay, so welcome. Thank you for those of you who are watching me. I just want to say a little bit about who I am, because I know you're not familiar with me in Russia.
Я хочу немного рассказать о себе, потому что я знаю, что немного людей знают обо мне в России.
I've been in human design now for 23 years.
Я 23 года в дизайне.
I was a direct student of Ra.
Я был прямым учеником Ра.
And I'm the director. And I'm the director of Human Design UK, the Jovian National Organization.
И я директор Human Design Великобритании и Human Design фильмов.
Yeah, and Human Design films. Okay, so just very quickly.
Сейчас быстренько.
There's a quick look at my chart.
Можете глянуть мой чарт.
My background is as a seeker of truth. I went and did a philosophy degree and different meditation processes and inner work in my early years.
Я очень долго искал правду. У меня есть также степень по философии, и я исследовал различные практики, как западных, так и восточных традиций.
I ran a Mind, Body, Spirit magazine for 20 years, starting in 1987.
И у меня был свой журнал, который именно был посвящен различным практикам тела, ума и духа. Он назывался «Родня».
This is the front cover of one of our covers, where I was giving people an article on human design, plus a free CD with film and the operating system to do their own charts.
И вот это обложка того выпуска, на котором также была статья про дизайн человека, и который включал в себя диск, бесплатный диск с программой, которая предшествовала ММА, которую он распространял бесплатно.
So we covered people like Eckhart Tolle.
И мы работали с такими людьми, как Экхарт Толле.
I gave him his first award this is before he was famous.
Да, еще до того, как он был знаменитый.
It was the Spiritual Book of the Year award, anyway.
Да, мы дали ему награду за самую духовную книгу года.
Caroline Myss, Deepak Chopra, Robert Monroe, people like this.
Все эти имена — это люди, с которыми он работал в этом издании.
So that was my life until I met Ra. I'll talk about that later. Since Ra's death, I went traveling all around the world, teaching analysts and talking to public audiences in big halls, on boats,
на лодках,
in little stuffy rooms,
в маленьких душных комнатах,
in churches,
в церквях,
in cellars,
в подвалах.
This was in Norway, I remember that. It was very good.
Это в Норвегии.
And bringing out some original information which I'd found along the way, testing it to the public audience to see if they could understand and enjoy it. I spent some time going to South Korea, teaching analysts over there and doing public talks, and getting myself out a little bit on Gaia, various other interviews. And people hear about me through reputation or through my videos that are on the internet when I did a lot of videos there. Here's a picture of me and Ra in a Spanish cafe.
Вот это вот в испанском кафе мы сидим с Ра.
And I draw attention to it for several reasons, but one, can you see the way that we're sitting in a similar way? You know, I began to understand that the body graph is actually can be seen in the mannerisms and in the stances that our body would naturally take. That became a whole interest of mine, which I will talk about in videos next year. just a little bit of background. If you want more, please go to my website, www.human.design. There is no .com or .net or anything, it's just .design. Okay, let's get to the talk. So, order out of chaos. And I like the fact that we chose this subject because I have the channel of mutation, and so it's always a matter of order out of chaos for me. The subtitle is The Existential Journey Through Human Design. I love this quote. What we imagine is order is merely the prevailing form of chaos. It's really something to see when you see, if some of you have been to New York or probably Moscow as well, with so many people busily moving like ants doing their own thing. The not self-conditioning is happening all the time, and people are aware that there's something not correct, but they don't know what's wrong. They often blame themselves. The chaos they're feeling, it's a confusion of pieces, thoughts, feelings, experiences that don't exist within a holistic sense of who they are because they don't know who they are. You know, we've all come from that space of confusion in a way. Regarding the not self, Ra says, one of the things about the nature of not operating correctly is the misuse of energy. The cost that the misuse of energy brings, having to fight resistance that doesn't have to be there, and so on. And in fact, resistance becomes a very good tool for us as we're moving through the process. So testing the levels of resistance. So there we go, from confusion into human design. We're suddenly integrated into it.
Из замешательства мы двигаемся в дизайн человека.
You know, and then we go, well, what's in us? What's this universe in us? What's in us? Finally, there is a reference for our internal discontent and the chaos of being out of tune with the world we live in. Hope springs up in us for a better life. Through the knowledge of differentiation, we have a refuge in the explanations. We can explore and measure who we are against the repeatable verification of the truth we hear in human design. And the experiment begins. But the map is not the territory. For all its wonderful, well, it's human design is wonderful, but it is a highly conceptual science. Ra had 9 first lines in him. It is very deep. It is endlessly complex in its associations with its components. And people often get, live in that, to begin with, live in that conceptual wonder. They think the map is a territory, and they think once they have a certain knowing about themselves that they are awakened in some way. The truth at the beginning is the open centers and places in our chart are layered with reinforced, conditioned patterns, habits, and life-negating personal histories. Because the truth is, when we begin the journey, we're still operating on the old maps while seeking to be free. Maps for this, maps for that. You know, me trying to find a map for my completely open solar plex and how to deal with people. I mean, none of them worked.
И ничего из этого, конечно, не работало.
Because I was trying too hard in that sense. So let's look at the full quote. The map is not the territory, the word is not the thing it describes. Whenever the map is confused with the territory, a semantic disturbance is set up in the organism. The disturbance continues until the limitation of the map is recognized, according to this person, Alfred Konzvisky. So let's see what happens.
Посмотрим, что происходит.
The semantic disturbance of being introduced to the many, many keynotes through human design begins an initial stage in the journey of the revelation of what is meaningfully true. Our perception of ourselves and the world changes. You know, I am a manifesting generator, you know, the identification with being that type. Slowly, slowly, armed with our new map, we gain a kind of confidence in thinking we understand ourselves. And especially in such a wonderful knowledge base as human design, at the beginning, there is often an arrogance of the zealot to assume we know the other as well. So it's very mental.
И это же все настолько ментально.
And there is recognition through receiving the knowledge. So in my own experience, when I initially got into human design, it was so fascinating, it was so interesting, and I was enjoying the interest. You know, meeting Ra, the response was so strong, I followed him wherever he went, enjoying the knowledge and what I could see through it.
И что я мог видеть через это знание.
And then
Потом
I reached an existential body-felt initiation. For me, it was meeting the transit field consciously for the first time. We were in Ibiza. Ra began his lecture raging against the program. He said, "You know, there's nothing we can do. I mean, at 2 o'clock today, it's all going to change. It just will. It just will. There's nothing we can do about it."
мы же ничего не можем сделать. Вот сегодня в 2 часа все поменяется, и ничего невозможно с этим сделать.
And then he went into what he was going to teach. But I'm a 1-3, and I wrote the time in biro on my hand. I didn't know what he meant, but I had a time that I could test it. So at 1:30, we all jump into cars and we drive to a Spanish restaurant to eat. And there's people talking and joking, and there's a lot of activity going on in the restaurant. And my colleagues are sitting around chatting, and I'm keeping an eye on the clock. And as I count down the seconds to 2 o'clock, I'm very aware of what's going on. 1, 2,
Считаю секунды, смотрю на часы.
3. I'm in shock.
Я был в шоке.
Everything goes quiet.
Все просто замолчало.
We moved from one gate to another, and in that moment, the whole mood changed. Everything changed in that restaurant. And I remember saying to myself, "My God, this is real." You know, it was at that moment that I realized I had to go deeper, because a prediction was made and I saw it happen, and he knew it was going to happen before, without any, I didn't know how. For each person, it will be a different thing that really brings them down to another level of being in the knowledge, in the body. Ra, I just want to use this quote from Ra. He gave a number of lectures on the dream rave. One of the first things to understand about waking up is that it is a challenge to you to begin your experiment. You can't just drop the old maps.
Нельзя просто выкинуть старые карты.
Because you understand you've been conditioned. You don't know how to drop them straight away. Ra says, I don't care if you've been doing it 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. The old cliche about every day is the first day of the beginning of the rest of your life is true. When you understand the dream state, actually the only thing worth understanding is that when you wake up, your first responsibility is to maintain your experiment because otherwise you're lost in the conditioning. And it is a process of every day. It is what aligns you to the waking, what aligns you in the waking state of your consciousness, of your correctness. So it's a process of keep coming back to realign. Again, you know all this, I know. Strategy and authority, the decision-making process, is the thing you use to maintain your correctness. You are a vehicle of the dream program. It moves through you, but it doesn't have to have a hold on you. It does not become part of the layers and layers and layers of homogenization. And you can only break with that by operating correctly in the awakened state when you're awake. It's something to realize that we have this five-centered state that we go into when we're sleeping. You know, we are locked in so many different ways to stop us from becoming fully awake. And no matter how clever you are, no matter how much human design you've gone into, you're unconscious when you're sleeping. Those aspects of the dream rave will be highlighting parts of your own chart that will be pulling you off being correct. So, for example, in my own case, I have the channel of struggle in my chart. Well, I also have it in the dream rave. And in my early life, I was struggling with everything and struggling 24/7.
И вообще-то я боролся со всем, что только может быть в свои ранние годы.
You know, I know how to fight and how to struggle. And yet now it becomes, I rarely struggle with unnecessary things now because I let the dream go and I don't jump into struggle, I wait for a response. We're also conditioned not just by other people, but we're conditioned by the transit field that keeps hitting on. If a transit field comes in a bridging gate for you, as an example, you're being conditioned again and again and again when that particular aspect or that particular planet with that aspect returns every month. There is no intellectual way of overcoming those multi-layers of homogenization. You know, if you're not a reflector, our job is to wake up from the program. And that's through the existential experience of being correct. And it's a process and it takes a long time. So after 23 years, is there still a semantic disturbance? Am I still struggling with meaning? No.
Нет.
Ra talked about the poetry of the geometry when referring to keynotes and their use. Now it's effortless for me. I look at a chart and out comes what I see in keynotes. In the string of being able to let go and let the truth come through me. I no longer need to remember things. The vehicle speaks and I listen along with my client to the opening that takes place in us both. There are things in human design that have not been written down, have not been said by Ra or been said by anybody else. And each one of you gets to see what it is that you are here to see in concretizing the knowledge in different ways. Have I recognized the limitation of the map? No, quite the contrary.
Как раз-таки наоборот.
Human design is not simply about meaning. If you go deep enough, long enough, you will see that it points to manifest reality that has remained unseen until that moment. And another door opens.
И тогда другая дверь открывается.
The treasures within are not merely in meaning, but in encountering reality in a new, existential, non-attached way. You have to let go. You have to let go of control. Even if you've got to fix 21, you'll be in control in one way, but you've got to let go of control in the other way. And I don't expect the process to stop. The work that we do is on the edges, catching yourself in the not self and in any kind of resistance. The other day, I had 15 minutes before I had to be in a conference on Zoom. And as you can see, I've got this manifesting generator side of me that is in momentum. And it took me to the door to go and post a parcel within that 15 minutes. And I overrode it. I listened to my mind, decided to wait and go and be there in a calm way for the conference. And the conference never happened. There was a timing error. I didn't know at the time, but my body knew. I was ready to go out, that would be the thing, and I overrode it with my mind. The trick is to catch yourself in that and learn from it. What kind of resistance is it? You know, when I decided to stay in instead of following my energy to go out, there was a kind of an uncomfortableness. It's getting into what that uncomfortableness feels like in the system. And it gets more and more subtle. Catching yourself in the flow of correctness and noticing that too. The correctness brings a greater awareness of what is happening around you. An ex-student came to see me with her husband and daughter last week. I took them to Glastonbury, which is a spiritual center in England. And we had a wonderful time. They got in their car then to drive to London. And I had that feeling that I wasn't quite ready to drive home myself. You know, I'm highly intuitive and I'm in this body. So I let my body drive my car where it wanted to. I found myself driving down the high street and then going down into another road and then turning left for no reason. No plan, nowhere to go. 30 seconds after I turned up that road I'd never been down before, I see a good friend on the side of the road.
И 30 секунд после того, как я свернул на дорогу, на которой я никогда раньше не был, я увидел старого друга.
You know, I'm a 1-3, things bump into me. That's my nature.
Это моя природа.
I roll down the window to say hello. She doesn't say hello, she just says, "What kind of song do you want to hear, Richard?" I said, "A happy song."
Он говорит, я хочу счастливую песню, веселую песню.
I didn't notice at the moment that there was a guy standing next to her with a strapped-on organ grinder, and he began to play beautiful music from this organ box. It was one of those delightful, happy synchronicities as a result of me letting go of control at that moment. So you get a sense of you get a sense of what's happening around you or what is about to happen, at least I do with my design. So I'm no longer seeking meaning or desiring experience. Strategy and authority birth the witness. No one does the doing and nothing is left undone. You know, I'm a busy creature and I see myself doing, you know, everything gets done, but I'm not trying to do anything. I make a list of things to be done.
Я делаю список дел, которые надо сделать.
And I look at the list and I see if I respond to doing any of them in that moment. And if I don't do any of them. I go and read a book for half an hour.
Может, я полчасика книжку читаю.
Or an hour.
Или часик.
The energy changes, I go back to the list, and perhaps then there is something for me to respond to. It really works. Nothing gets left undone. The chaos within gives way to order within simply by being oneself. In resting in being oneself, there's this, you know, we all feel it. We've all been in design long enough to feel the more relaxed. And that resting in the fact that you can rely on your strategy and authority brings the incarnation cross to take over. And as Ra says, it's just about enjoying the ride. It's no longer about oneself. Well, at least it isn't for me. Witnessing needs no identification to being a witness. It's a consequence of living from your truth. You know, we're all walking around with no heads. When you're looking out of your eyes, you can't see your head, can you? You can see everything else, but you can't see your head.
Мы все ходим внутри своей головы и смотрим на все через глаза. И мы можем видеть все, но мы не можем видеть свою голову.
I mean, these days people walk around with their mobiles, so they're always looking at an identification of themselves talking. But
Сейчас, правда, все с мобилами ходят, смотрят на свою голову, чтобы можно было идентифицироваться.
in actual fact, we're walking around without heads. So the mystery deepens. I've used this final image because this is a jigsaw puzzle, but it's done with a 3D photo, or it looks 3D. The mind constructs a conceptual 3D reality that is limited by its past conceptual experience. Yet the witness truly gets to see behind that limitation. You know, that wonderful woodcut that was part of the original Jovian logo, where you see behind the veils. The veils each one of us has to deal with is what we get to see. We don't know what it is until it's in front of us. And this edge, it's not a search for meaning, it is encountering reality at a deeper level. The edge continues as you go down the endless rabbit hole of letting conditioning go. And you know that there is always difficulty at the beginning. As soon as you go down a different rabbit hole, then it's like you're in it. I was speaking to Julia earlier about a reading I did fairly recently with someone who had the second gate 14 times. But again, what we're going to meet in our clients and in the people we meet, we don't know. But to meet it fully embodied with an extreme, that will take you into something else. So order into chaos and then back again into the deeper existential journey is what it's all about for me anyway. All right, so that was my talk. I hope you enjoyed that. I do have a bonus section because Julia said that you would like to know some of the a few stories from my connections with Ra. So I thought I'd show you just a few pictures. This one on the left is when I got into human design films. This was the first time Ra was film teaching the band 2. He actually did it in my house. I had this rather lovely house. I didn't know what I was doing. You know, this is the first time I'm filming and trying to record as a 1/3, but it was from that he offered me the directorship to film everything that he did. So we went on location filming to some of the major places in Ibiza as part of his personal history with the voice. And at some point in the next couple of years, I'll put that movie together and comment on it further. But it's nice to see him in different settings, isn't it? This is
Через 2 года.
I'm running a full-time bi-monthly magazine of 128 to 140 pages.
И я также заведовала журналом. Magazine? You were running magazine?
Yes, I was running the Kindred Spirit magazine.
Вот тот журнал, который он вначале показывал, тоже.
Yeah, the one I showed you.
Yeah.
And Ra says to me, okay, you know, let's, I want you to do a film every week, 52 films a year. I said, are you crazy? You know, I've got this to do, you know, I've got the business to run. But I loved him. I loved the knowledge. I loved the experience of doing human design. So I did a series of 12. I could agree to 12. You know, in dealing with Ra, he was, you know, an open route manifester, and he wanted a lot done, you know, and it was going to be people like me doing all the doing. But an open sacral doesn't know when enough is enough. They don't know how much work is really involved in the doing of it. But anyway, it was fun, and of course, it gave me access to learn more. This was the first time. This photograph is from in London, when Ra said to me, you know, there's a business side to human design, could make you a lot of money. You won't have to work so hard, Richard. You can be like the grandfather that comes in and puts a comforting hand on the employee's shoulder and says, you're doing a good job. Well, it didn't quite work out like that.
Но вообще-то это не совсем так сработало.
To follow the same theme as the talk, this was the first time any company had applied the OC16 knowledge in reality. And some of you will know about this, but the things we did not consider initially that I had to find out by trial and error. As an example, okay, what we need is we need the channel of interaction. And I said, okay, well, I'll bring in I've got an editor that could come in and replace me, and she has what we need for the whole company. Great, great energy, great intelligence in the woman. But she had that particular channel in terms of interaction in the first lines. So she goes to my top advertisers, you know, Harper and Collins, all kinds of, well, the publishers really. And she starts demanding this and demanding that and saying, you know, she started telling them what she wanted them to do for her and the magazine, and ordering my top customers around. She was effective in her interaction to the point at which they rang me and said, who the hell is this fucking woman telling us what to do? So, you know, I learned the hard way that in the business knowledge, you are still dealing with not self people who have no interest in their own truth. So don't forget that one. In, you know, I will say, I mean, there were many positive things also. I put in a managing director that saved me money by printing the magazine in Spain instead of in England. It was cheaper and better. I tell you this as well. When the last person I hired to come in and complete the whole OC16, when she walked in the door, the phones started ringing, and they kept on ringing. There was a lot of, you know, a lot more business came in. He was right. You know, the transauric aura theory certainly worked. Unfortunately, I had a fair number of insane, not self people with me.
Ну, к сожалению, было еще полно людей ложного я рядом со мной.
Who one or two, well, two or three of them I brought in because of the channels, not because of my own response. You know, I gave my authority up to the theoretical knowledge without integrating it in with me and my decision making. And I had to advertise for jobs all over the country. It's not easy to find the person who has the skills and has the channels and aspects that we need. So remember that a inspiration can be a theoretical answer that can become a plan, but we don't know if the plan is going to work until you actually put it into practice and run the experiment. And if you've got the energy with the 58 and the 18, you can push for improvement and run the experiment. And the experiment is then applied in reality through the 4816. Only then do you know if it's going to work and where it works and where it doesn't work. And it's the same with us in our process. Strategy and authority works because it takes away the planning. You're surrendering to something that is not mental. Anyway, that's what I have to say. I'm open. I enjoyed that. I'm open to any questions. Thank you.
There are a few
for the
questions.
translation. Thank you.
Mm.
All right.
Many questions you have.
Okay, can I answer the one on the Zealot? I saw that one.
Sure.
Someone says, the arrogance of the Zealot, something to think about. Thank you. The Zealot, I use that word, it's the 18 line 3. Notice the third line. Notice the 18th gate. It's critical awareness that is focused on a particular thing. You know, focusing is focusing, but it can miss the bigger picture. Life brings the bigger picture. That's why. So that's why it's the arrogance. I was wondering about that word arrogance, but it'll look like arrogance. Because they're focused on just one thing, and life isn't just one thing, it's everything connected. Okay, you go ahead. What, in Russian, do you want to translate anything? It's lovely to see everyone comment, thank you.
There's also some stuff in English. Richard, how can one stay calm looking at all the unfair things happening in the world, imposing vaccination, borders closing, etc.? Does the program not want us humans anymore on this planet?
Great question.
Да, отличный вопрос.
We are at a time that would be that would normally be the end of the species. It would normally be the time for the extinction of the species, but it's not going to be. There are many things that we have that can help. So we know that humans are going to be here till the end, which is why human design is so important. In following your strategy and authority, you will stay alive, or you'll have a good chance. You know, right now we are this. I know I keep up to date, so I know there's a lot of things happening in the background, and I know a lot of what's going on. So many good things are happening as well. To my knowledge, we live in a timeline that will actually overthrow the oppression. There is a great awakening going on in terms of people being shattered out of the illusion that control exists. There are a lot of people I know that want a future where we live together in harmony together without the burden of the enforced monetary system. So I'm going to be doing a film on like an add-on to what Ra has said on the future. And I will take you into the alternate future that is probably going to happen at the same time. You can see the polarities that are coming between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. You can see the 16th gate of identification playing out in a very extreme way at the moment. I believe the cabal will be taken down.
What will be taken down?
The cabal, the rich families and corporations that are doing this to us. So it's not that the program is a program.
No, программа есть программа.
Human design came into the world for this time. He told us there was going to be a massive depopulation. We didn't know exactly how, now we know. And each of us have a part to play in the future. So I'm going to do my bit to help humanity reclaim their humanity and show them some things they may not know they have in them. Good. So that's what I have to say about that. Any other questions in Russian or in English? Some lovely comments. Thank you, people.
Trans-auric communication. Can you a little bit develop this?
Yes, it's like it's at a small business sense. It's about the Penta, and when you get the channels going, all the channels going into the G, and then all the channels going into the throat, in a group of not more than 5 people, the transauric aura will take over their individual propensities. So if you imagine a life force, a single life force that has the sacral, the G in the throat, but nothing else, what have you got? You've got power into manifestation with no fear, with no emotions, with no pressure. You've just got this movement. And in a business, if that works well, you have a business that can't fail. But it's got no awareness. There's no solar plexus, no spleen, there's no ajna. So you need to have a projector on the outside of the Penta to fix the direction, to guide the direction. You can see I have a lot. Oh no, you can't because you're not looking through. I have a lot of pentagates in my chart, so you know I can get shit done. When I ran Human Design Films, I had 2 other people that helped me with the filming and the design, the graphic design. There were 3 of us, and we made a complete Penta. The transauric aura took over, and we got a lot done. But I'll let you look that up. If you want to go into that, then there are courses available. But that's my view. Here's a great one. What would you wish to have known when your experiment started that you did not know then, but know now? Nothing.
Ничего.
I had to find out. We each find out in our own way. I mean, it was a time when I started the experiment, it was a time of constant learning and revelation through experimenting with my, I don't know if you can translate, my cloddish way of understanding strategy and authority, my immature way of understanding strategy and authority. You know, if you think about the channel of maturity, the channel of maturity is beginnings and ends, but it's a process of development. Hopefully balanced development, but it's a process of development. You can't get to the end before you've gone through it. 2946, the journey of discovery. You don't know what it's about until it's over. You can't get that wisdom until you've done it, been through it. People that are coming to human design now are terribly fortunate because they have people that have gone before, that they can see their lives have become better. So I didn't have that. You know, the only person we could look to in trying to verify where one could get to was Ra. You know, this crazy, freaky manifest of 5-1. That's why there were so few people around him. His aura did not invite a lot of people. He was a very private man. And those of us near him at that time had to be able to stand the heat. Not everybody could. I tell you, back then, I think it was the opposite to what it is now. Nearly everybody was smoking. You know, maybe a few that weren't, but that was the kind of encounter with Ra. That was meeting something we'd never met before. So no, there's nothing I would want to know now. I want to know then that I know now, because I couldn't know it until now. All right, good. Well, I think that's all the questions. Thank you for all your lovely comments, everyone. Thank you. Any other questions? Anything in Russian I've missed?
When do you mean the channel of interaction? What kind of channel did you imply? Канал взаимодействия. Что за канал взаимодействия?
The 2644. The channel of surrender. Yeah. Oh no, sorry, you can't see the chart. The channel of surrender. All right, so that is exactly 3:30 on my clock. If we finished on time, if I've got other questions, I'm here, but I know you have a schedule, but I I'm still here if there's anything else.
Женя, у нас все по плану?
Ну, вообще по плану, конечно, да.
Отлично. So I think that's it.
All right. Well, thank you, Julia, for a wonderful translation.
How do you know it's wonderful?
Because I'm getting people thanking you for the translation, and I'm hearing fluidity in what you're saying, and
Okay.
it's all gone
so-
well.
Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you.
Oh.
Julia. Thank you. It was
My pleasure.
See you. Hope to see you again.
You
It was
do.
waiting for your movie, actually, a lot.
Well, this is what I'm working on right now, so it won't be. It'll be coming out next year for sure. There'll be several.
Yes, we are happy to translate it, actually.
Okay.
Да,
Okay.
Ричард работает сейчас над несколькими фильмами одновременно, и будем надеяться, что они выйдут в следующем году.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Bye bye for now. Thank you. Bye.